can do magic, and you know you're the one who could put out the fire. You know darn well when you cast a spell, you get your way. When you hit the ties with your eyes, a heart of stone can turn to clay. Okay, now if you're familiar with the song, okay, then you know where I'm going with this, all right? Sometimes a person might think of themselves as God himself. They think that they have all this power. They think that they could cast a spell to bind you, to be back with them, but it's not possible. Impossible, okay? God is working things out. When there's a spiritual war going on, and you decide that you want to fight against the powers that be, there's another thing coming. You've got another thing coming. It is important that we connect with God. We meditate. We pray. We touch the grass. We hug the trees. We connect with the earth. That is God's work, okay? When you are connecting and you are making the necessary communication. You know, my spiritual advisor years ago used to say, have you time for God? And at first I was just like, oh, here he goes again, man. Didn't I pray already? Didn't I do this already? Didn't I already meditate? I meditated for a whole hour. Come on, man. But what he was saying is, are you doing the work? Sometimes we fall short of doing the work. I mean, sometimes it's hard to get the time, to find the time to do all that you need to do. And sometimes it feels like pressure. But what you get in the end, what you gain, what you stand to gain is so much more. Your protection. You're protected. You're walking down the street, going to where you need to go. You're waking up in the morning. You're doing all these things. God is blessing you with life. And did you forget what your promises were before you got here? Now, some people don't believe in reincarnation. They don't believe that they were actually, they would actually make such promises. Come on, that's impossible. You think it's impossible now, but you didn't think it was impossible before you got here. There's a woman who was going into her backyard. Now that morning when she woke up, she had no idea that this would be her last day upon the earth. Working with people, being friendly with people. Now, she was retired, but she did have a beautiful home. So she went into her backyard, and somehow she tripped and hit her head. Now, she decided that she was going to lie down and just relax. She said, you know what? Let me not rush, because the rushing is what got me into this situation in the first place. Let me relax and just lay here for a minute. And then I'm going to get up and I'm going to go in the kitchen. I'm going to go ahead and make myself some tea. Because she hit her head, we don't ever know exactly how hard or what the damages really are unless we go get an MRI or, we get the doctor to look at it and examine. So she didn't think twice about it. She just lied in her yard. Next thing you know, her family didn't hear from her. Usually the people who really hear from her during that period of time, they didn't hear from her. They went to the house, ring the doorbell, nobody's answering. This is odd for her. Usually she's up and around, telling me off at this point. What's going on? So they had to get her brother, and her brother was devastated when he found that she had hurt herself and she never got up to relax. She could have stood up if she had only sat up and not lied down and went to sleep and not woken up. Had she thought about it, she probably would have thought differently. But let's just be honest. We all have to go sometime. We all have a time in which we go. What does the Bible say? Is a time to live, a time to die, a time to be a man, a time to be born. Now, of course, I'm ad-libbing. That's not exactly in the words that it said, but in other words, there's a time and place for everything. And God is the person who leads that. He's the captain of that ship. Although sometimes we feel like we're doing things on our own. Hey, I'm going to get up in the morning. Hey, I'm gonna. We take so much for granted. How much thank you do we give? You know, my mother used to say, gimme, 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 never here, here, here. And I heard her loud and clear when she said it. Because what she was basically saying is we take so much, but what do we give? Do you give something to your community? Do you do certain things, or are you just faking the funk? We have some people who focus on other people, and they say that person thinks they're such a goody goody. They're not. And they try so hard to pull another person down. But every time you pull another person down, your actions are also being observed as well. Now, I say certain things on this channel, and I speak on different stories, and I tell my own version of a story. Now, what we learn from that story is another thing. You know, right now we have people who are trying to make ends meet, and they're trying to figure out different ways to do it. Pray to God, ask for direction. There's certain people who feel as though they don't know what they want to do next. They don't know which career they want to go into. Pray to God, ask for direction. Some people don't know whether they're going to pick up the fork or the spoon first. Pray to God, be thankful for your food. Bless your food. You know, some people are afraid they're going to die alone. Do some volunteer work so that you can reach out in your community and lend a hand. There's a woman who rescues dogs, and she does not have a lot of places that she can actually bring these dogs once they've been rescued. Some people, if they open up their doors for these dogs, perhaps they can be of a service, you know. When we are reaching out and we are helping others, we're also helping ourselves. I know I mentioned it before, how my mother used to say, I'm taking care of other people now so that when I leave here, someone will take care of you. That's an ancestral thing, you know this. When your ancestors were here, they did certain things. Perhaps they committed sins, perhaps they committed atrocities, we don't know. But while you're cleaning up, while you're doing good, you are pouring that back into your ancestral timeline. You're helping your lifeline. You're helping your ancestors to clean up a lot of different things. And when you do this, when you give back, when you help, when you serve, you're actually cleaning up some of the mess that was made beforehand. So when you say you are a curse breaker, when you say that you are the one in the family to clean up some of the negative things that have happened, you are doing more than you know. So when you think about your lineage, when people have children, they look at their children are going to be the ones to take care of them before they pass away, or their children are ones who are going to lay that foundation and to help their lineage. If you teach them now, they will be more conscious of the decisions that they're making. They will pour in to other people. They will support the community. They will give back to their communities. They will share what they need to share. You know? How many of us go to Goodwill? The churches now. You go to church. They take things that they're no longer using, different people in your congregation, and they put these things out on the table. People can put in an offering or put in a donation and pick up that item. This happens when you have certain churches. I'm not going to say all, but the churches that I know of, they, after service, they come and they sit together and they have fellowship. And after fellowship or during fellowship, they walk around and they see what's for sale and they give a donation, and they take the book or the microwave or the cookbook, the hat, the gloves, whatever. A lot of churches do this, and they do this. This is their form of giving back. Because let's say you gave money in the offering. The church still might need, money to keep the water on, or to keep the doors open. So when you give back in these ways, there's so many things that are coming back to you. So you don't always have to look at it that way, but sometimes you have to put it plain in that way so that people are understanding that it's a reciprocated process. We are giving and taking. This is what life is. Life is a give and take. Life is a shared process. You share love, the love is reciprocated back. You know, we just don't know what life is leading us, because God gives us so many different examples. He allows us to see certain things. That's a blessing when He allows you to see the mistake you made so that you could correct the mistake. Now, some people might say, oh no, I don't want to see the mistake I made. I want to bury that in the backyard. Well, burying it in the backyard is not going to solve the problem, and it's not going to help you to grow from the experience. You know, there were some people who were going to burial grounds where their ancestors were buried, and they were taking soil from that burial ground, and they were doing it for very negative reasons. You know, there's certain spiritual laws. Just like when you're warned against hurting people, and you still, oh, there's that New York accent. I caught it this time, Janice. Yes. When we are creating certain environments, it's an unhealthy environment spiritually when you do things such as that. Okay, you're upset. You think the person did something to you, so you want to get back at them. And you don't even know if the person did it. If somebody tells you, oh, that person definitely did it, this is word of mouth. Do you have proof? Do you know for sure that that person did something against you? And if that person did do something against you, your job is to take it to God. You say, God, listen, I don't know what this person, or I don't know why this is happening to me. Lord, can you take care of it? Put it in God's hands. He's bigger than you. He's better at this. You think you're going to cast things on people? Spiritual laws are being broken at this time. People have done all sorts of mayhem, and they have no idea what is going to be reciprocated against them. You know, now this is going over certain people's heads, but the people who need to understand and know it, they definitely are getting this, okay? It's important, mucho importante, that you look at your actions. Now, I'm going to tell you, nobody's perfect. I've made my mistakes, but at this period in time, I have been trying my hardest to work things out and really look at my own behavior. Because how can I look at someone else's behavior and not look at mine first, okay? Sometimes you get into an argument with somebody, you know, you say certain things that you cannot take back. You apologize. Like somebody wrote me a letter, okay? And they asked me to forgive them for their part in it. And then they did something even worse afterwards. Before I even got a chance to even look at what the letter was, so many other things have been done. And the funny thing is some things you do, I can forgive you. But God is looking at your actions. And I move on because I know that I've made peace with it, and I've made peace with you. In my heart of hearts, I know that I have to move forward, because I cannot. How much time do we waste with the silliness, you know? How many times? I remember one time I sent some gifts to someone, and that person was supposed to share those gifts that I sent with, you know, with other people, you know? And that person put return to sender and sent it right back to me. When those gifts came back to me after Christmas, after the holidays, I was so hurt, and I was lost for words. I couldn't even believe that anyone would do that, especially had they known that the main gift that was supposed to go to them was my last. They had no idea what the gift was. It was something that they had been asking me for years. And it was something that I was told never to give away. And I was giving it away. And the person thought that they were getting back at me. They thought they were hurting me, but they ended up hurting themselves in the end. The value of the gift, I'm so happy I got it back, to be honest with you, because the value of this gift, the price of this gift. Now, a person in my past stole that very gift. Now, I don't know what they did with it. But whether it's returned to me or not, the ancestors, my ancestors, it was passed down to me. You know, it was something that was given to me by someone much older than me, an ancestor that I think I only got to see them at the age of 4. Yeah, that was the last time. It was the last time I got to sit on their lap. Last time I got to listen to them. And when she told, when this ancestor spoke to me, and at 4 years old, what do you understand? You don't understand, but I do remember the words. And she said, you are going to have to be the one. You're going to carry a lot on your shoulders. You are going to have to carry the weight for others, and you are going to have to make so many sacrifices. There's nothing that I could possibly do to prepare you for this. But it's a selfless sacrifice. People don't even know who you are in this family, but they will one day find out. Now, a 4-year-old listening to this, I can't even tell you verbatim how it was said, but you know what? It's amazing how the same person will come to you in a dream and reiterate what they said to you at 4 years old. You have no idea what God has in mind for you. God has given us many gifts. If you only sit down and meditate, you will pick up on some of these gifts that God has given just for you. You worry about other people's gifts. You want to know what this person is doing behind closed doors. They must be doing something. Somebody put a camera in the left eye. Oh yeah, there's so many different things that people will do, and they laugh behind closed doors. But you know what? God has the last laugh. And if you were sent here to do something and you work against the people who God sent on his behalf, you will definitely suffer a great deal. People were warned not to hurt other people, and they still did it. Now a lot of things are going to overturn, and there's nothing that anyone else can do. It's now in God's hands. It was always in God's hands. But God directly let you know, whether he sent somebody to tell you, whether he did it himself. He said, do not hurt my anointed ones. Do not hurt the beloved. People still do certain things, and they realize, I mean, you know, you can go to the library and get a book on all these things that these people have been doing. Really? But why would you even worry about that? You have so many things that God gave you for homework that you don't even have time to be trying to cast a spell. You have so much homework to do. Believe me, I know I got enough homework myself. My homework is in other languages as well as this one. And I'm telling you, the work is never seemed to be done. You know, by the time I'm finished with this, I got to meet with somebody for this. I got to help this person with that. You know, I had to go and talk to a person about their dog recently. You know? And I sat with the dog. I'm telling you, some dogs are holding on just because they don't want to let you go, because you are going to be alone. Some dogs hold on to you despite what you do against the dog, because the dog still has loyalty to you. Somebody hurt their dog badly, did all sorts of horrible things to that dog, and the dog was still loyal to them. People sacrificing animals. Are you kidding me? Children and dogs and animals, you don't do it. I'm telling you now, that's a whole different spiritual sin that you know, I'm maybe talking too much, so I'm going to stop right there. What I am going to say is this. We all have gifts. We all have something that we were sent here to do. If you don't know what it is that you were sent here to do, pray on it. Ask God for guidance. But do not take it on in your own hands and think that you are God, because you are not. And if you continue to hurt people, your lineage, your ancestry, they're going to suffer more, and your children and your children's children will suffer. If you don't know spiritual laws by now, you need to be getting on your knees and praying. You need to be asking for God's guidance. Because some of the things that people are doing, I'm not even supposed to be touching on that subject, so I'm going to let go of it. But what I will say is this. God has blessed us with so much. The minute I was talking to this guy yesterday, and he was complaining, and while he was complaining, somebody in a wheelchair rolled by us and said, "God bless you," and "Thank you." That is a humbling factor. You have no idea. Two people were speaking sign language into a phone screen yesterday, and I said, "Wow." I've had some experiences with people who are deaf and they have to do sign language. And, a few of those experiences were quite interesting. I mean, they were funny, but not funny at the same time. Only funny because I was the one who had no idea. And sometimes when you are naive to certain things, you don't know what to do. And all I wanted was ketchup, but they caught me up to what it was I was supposed to really be doing by me looking at them. Sometimes we think people are naive. We don't think they know anything. Sometimes we think people are not smart. Everyone is smart. This one guy loves to call people special ed, but when he calls them that name, it's almost as though he's reliving what people called him in grade school. You see, he was supposed to heal from that experience and not reiterate or resurface that problem. And sometimes when you're hurt, you lash out at other people and you call them on things that you were called on. And it's not fun, and it's not appropriate, and it's a painful thing. Nobody likes to be called out of their name. Nobody likes to be mistreated, Sometimes we have to really look at our actions before we can judge another person's actions. Now, some people just don't know any better, but they're going to learn. They're going to learn because God is going to teach them. And if they have to die and come back to this earth plane, I know some people don't believe in it. If they have to go through that process, then this is something that they might have to do. I could tell you some stories on what I believe, but, that would have to be another time. We all have our own learning experiences, Shirley MacLaine is in this movie, Defending Your Life. And anytime someone looks at her, they remember her history. This woman has been through so much. She has done so much for in theater. And I followed her. I had to study her in one of my classes years ago. And I mean, she's done some phenomenal work, And that movie, she really does, I think she does a great job. Felicia Rashad is another one. I mean, when I say Felicia Rashad, one day, I look forward to meeting that woman. Some of the things that she's spoken about, her spiritual advisor, the connection that I've crossed with her. Now, I've never met her face to face, but some of the experiences we share in common. Brian McKnight, a person who I've met on so many occasions, in the way in which he interacts with people. Personally, one-on-one, meeting him at the studio, seeing him crossing paths, in Manhattan. I really can definitely say that I can appreciate this person because he never treated me any differently than anyone else, Sometimes when you go, like I did some extra work and I did some casting work in New York. And while doing the casting work, I've rubbed elbows with different celebrities. And I can appreciate the fact that they treated you equally. They didn't make you feel uncomfortable. I felt more uncomfortable with people who I've crossed on the street and don't even want to say good morning or hello and give you a dirty look because they assume that you're someone that you are not. We have got to come together on one level, if not any other, the human level, knowing that we are all human beings and that we need to be respectful of each other. Now, we're going to make mistakes along the way. There are going to be times where you don't know what another person is going through, so you assume or you suggest certain things or what have you, and you really have no idea. You know, this woman had just lost her family, and she thought she had a friendship with another woman. They decided to exchange information. They became quick friends, so to speak. And they got into an altercation, an argument in some way or what have you, and they had to share space. So one of the women decided she was going to go and pick up her things. The other woman said, you know what, don't go until I'm there. But the other woman saw the woman sitting, and she realized that the woman was going to sit there. And she said, you know, I wanted to hurry and get my stuff. I had an appointment. I had to get my stuff out of there. So she took her things out of the shared space, and the woman approached her and said, didn't I tell you? She treated her as a child. You have to be careful how you speak to individuals, because you never know what another person might be going through. Now, although this person was speaking out of anger, you don't know what a trigger moment could be for another individual. And a triggered moment could land in so many different ways. I know this other woman who, they handled it pretty politely. The woman just let the woman search her things, got her stuff together, and moved on. She looked at it as this was a gift, because she realized that, you know what, this quick friendship might not be a friendship. And you know what? I'm thankful to God that it ended in such a peaceful way. But there's so many situations that don't happen so nicely, so easily. And God had his hand on this one, because God had his hand on both women. God has a job for both women to do. So the easiest thing to possibly do is to bless these two women with peace and let them move on their way. Two other women crossed paths, and it wasn't so gently, you know, it wasn't a gentle experience. You know, I remember growing up in the Bronx and seeing women be best friends one minute and fighting the next, and I mean physical fighting. To me, I could not believe it, even as a child, to observe such things. It was one of the reasons why we had to move out of the neighborhood, because so many things were happening. It was almost as though someone put a curse on the building. One thing after the next. People were moving out because they knew that they did not want their children to observe all the horrible things that were happening in this environment. You know, it takes a community of people to come together to make a difference. Now, these young ladies who were having these fights, they didn't know any better. But here's the thing. When you know better, you do better, right? Sometimes people have got to go through some of the dirt and get their hands dirty in order to clean their hands up. You know, different opportunities come to all of us during one period of time or another. And when these opportunities come to us, we don't always see them as opportunities. Sometimes we look at a person and we judge that person. We have no idea what that person can actually do. That person might actually have a connection with certain people in your community to help elevate the community. You have no idea. But you treat this person any type of way. Let us reevaluate who we are, what we're doing, and try to be nicer to your neighbor. For you never know where that neighbor might be able to help in your community. That's been my word. It is so lovely being you. Love the skin you're in. Embrace the beauty that God gave you.